Should Kawhi Leonard start thinking about retirement if he has yet another season where he's not able to play a lot of games? We're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're also going to look at the winners and losers from preseason so far. And is the Zach LaVine trade market starting to open back up? Some people believe it is. Some people believe it isn't. We're going to talk about all that plus more on today's NBA Central.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into these topics for today, man. I want to start off with Kawhi Leonard. Now, I know we dropped an emergency live video, really short video, talking about Kawhi Leonard and his injury. And really, since then, there hasn't really been any other details to come out in regards to his injury. Like, this is the Clippers not really being as forthcoming as I'm sure Clippers fans are probably more frustrated than anybody with the fact that they just don't know exactly what's going on with Kawhi Leonard to really have any type of informed opinion or idea or anything on what this outlook could look like. And it's really concerning when it comes down to Kawhi. When you look at, again, it's always that dynamic of Kawhi Leonard when he's on the court is so good, right? Like we know what he can be. He's a franchise caliber player when he's on the court, but he's just not able to stay on the court. And for before the practice open and training camp open, the fact that Tyronn Lue said that, Kawhi will be here for practice, and he has gone through with not a single practice at all through preseason. He has not played in preseason. He hasn't practiced in preseason. Apparently, he just has not done very much of anything since then. And so because he also missed the final 8 games of the 2023-24 regular season, he played in 2 of the 6 playoff games for the Clippers as well against that Dallas Mavericks team. There's just a lot of just concern around the non-communication. Now, let's be clear. Could be Kawhi requesting that. Could be his doctors. Could be just the franchise just wanting to focus on other things other than that. And while it seemed like his focus this offseason was strengthening that knee, it just the cryptic updates in regards to Kawhi Leonard, the just doubt around him before, around that injury, it just is raising a lot of questions. And Kendrick Perkins was one of the first ones to say that maybe Kawhi Leonard should consider retiring. Now, here's one thing. I can't say yeah or no, and that I don't have the information, right? So it is what it is. And while they're saying that this recent thing is not in regards to his ACL injury, I don't know if that's more or less concerning, to be 100% honest. Like, it would make more sense if it was in regards to the ACL injury and surgery that he had. And the fact that it's not and is leaving him out as an indefinite amount of time, to me, that just raises even more concerns for Kawhi Leonard. And so when we live in an era of basketball where you have a player like Joel Embiid who's supposed to be basically in their prime and saying, hey, I may not play back-to-backs for the rest of my career, right? But then you have, on the flip side of that, you have players like Anthony Davis who have been very injury-prone over their careers, or even though we don't have enough sample size, Lonzo Ball, right, in his return to the Chicago Bulls and looking like himself after 3 years, which one preseason game so far, in 15 minutes. We still got a lot of time to look over before we make a decision on that. It just is a lot of questions around Kawhi Leonard at a time where you would hope that he's getting healthier, right? And then this is a time period where Paul George left as well in the offseason, adding even more doubt around that roster and what that roster is going to look like. And so the Clippers and their ownership and their management are really trying to keep this Clippers team at a certain level of being able to compete, but in continually looking at Kawhi Leonard and even trying in any meaningful way to bet on this guy, it raises some big concerns. Then you look at the financial outlook for the Clippers, right? While it's not in a bad place, the Clippers are actually almost $5 million below the first tax April now, $26 million next year, $99 million, $183 million, and $240 million. Now, of course, you're going to sign players, you're going to draft players between now and then, but the Clippers do have some upcoming flexibility to where, by the end of Kawhi's contract, which ends in 2027-28, I should say, this Clippers roster should and probably will look considerably different. So, are the Clippers in a place where they want to start selling off in pieces? This is the last year of James Harden. Well, he has a player option heading into next year. He could look to go on and move elsewhere if he decides, like Paul George, like, hey, I want to go somewhere where I have a better chance to compete than trying to, wait and bet on me being able to be out on the court with Kawhi Leonard, right? So there's some big questions coming up for the Los Angeles Clippers. And, I get it. Kawhi Leonard with having, $49 million this year, $50 million the next 2 years after that. He's probably not going to leave that money on the table and keep trying to compete. But at some point, Kawhi just got to ask himself, at 33 years old, is it time to start thinking about retirement, right? Let me not say he needs to retire now or this season or whatever else. At the end of the season, he'll turn 34. So, it's just a really interesting place for Kawhi to be because, like, at this age, which is not old in real life by any stretch of the imagination, but you're starting to get long in the tooth as far as your basketball career. And when that starts happening, you got to start asking yourself some of the tough questions, right? And I'm sure the physical aspect of it, of ramping up, ramping down, right, not able to get going and things like that, really weighs heavily on Kawhi Leonard. I could not imagine having this many years, even after last year playing a decent amount of games, right, having this many years of just rehabbing. Like, it's just been so much rehab for Kawhi Leonard over the last couple of off seasons that it's just like, what are we doing here? And I pointed it out on yesterday's emergency video. Basically, since 2017-18, right, where he played 9 games. Since that season, Kawhi Leonard has one season where he's played over 60 games. And that was last season at 68 games, right? Other than that, he's played 60 games once, 57, 52, 52, and then 68. And so it just starts raising some questions on the longevity of Kawhi Leonard. And like with most stars that are injury prone, you got to ask yourself as a franchise, can we put a roster together that's able to stay afloat enough that when this guy's healthy, we're off to the races, right? Are we able to weather the storm without them being out there? And that's a question that the Clippers are going to have to start asking themselves. As aggressive as they want to be, as good as they want to stay, and I'm sure with a new stadium and everything like that, they want to keep butts in seats, and that's just the business aspect of it. But you got to start. You won 51 games last season in a competitive Western Conference. You were the 4th seed in the Western Conference. But again, you've lost PG. Yeah, you got James Harden, but you don't know what's going on with Kawhi Leonard, and at least to start the season. And then even when he is cleared, are you going to feel safe in the fact that is he going to be able to stay healthy for enough games for you? It's a lot of questions there. You had 68 games of healthy Kawhi Leonard and won 51 of those games last year. Got to ask yourself that. You just got to ask yourself that. So let me know what you guys think down below on Kawhi Leonard. Should he start looking potentially into retirement, or at this point, I mean, with over $130 million left on his contract, he may see that through. That's a lot of money to leave on the table. Well, let me know what you guys think on all that down below. With that said, I want to get into the next topic, right? And this is, I try not to bring Chicago Bulls topics over here very regularly, mainly just because I talk about the Bulls every day, right? Over on Chicago Bulls Central. And so I try to separate that. But this is really not just about LaVine or the Bulls. It's about kind of the teams, right? And so recently we've heard trade rumors in regards to the Sacramento Kings and the Los Angeles Lakers potentially being interested in making moves for Zach LaVine, that interest could still be there by the trade deadline, but they're monitoring it because Zach LaVine through this preseason has fit in well. He's played a role, and maybe that play has kind of opened some other teams back up to potentially trading for Zach LaVine. Now, the thing that I'm going to ask in this is that I've always said this, is that the narrative around Zach LaVine was, well, there's some truth to it for sure. I think it's been completely overbellished. Now, that has mainly become overblown, I should say. That has mainly come due to the contract. When you have a contract that large, you're gonna some of those failings are gonna be maximized because listen, that's a big financial burden, especially when you are in now this era of the second tax apron for in the NBA, right? So, but with the questions with recently the Kings, and while nothing's imminent, if Zach LaVine plays this complementary role, which he has done so far through the Bulls preseason game where he's really fit in, been giving effort defensively, been fairly efficient as well, could those teams come back interested in Zach LaVine? Now, Tim McMahon and Tim Bontemps had a conversation on it, and they said this. This one's from Tim McMahon. He said, I don't think they can move LaVine during this year. If they're looking for value back, if they're thinking they're going to get a pick or picks back, I don't think that makes sense. Tim Bontemps followed it up by saying this. I just don't think you can move a contract that big, basically, period. I mean, look at how hard it was for Karl-Anthony Towns trade to happen. Trying to trade a $50 million contract for anybody right now, the way that the aprons are and the way that the teams are up against it, it's going to be difficult even if there's a bidding war for a player, let alone if a guy who people are iffy about. even forget about the CBA stuff. I don't think the Bulls can trade LaVine right now without attaching draft capital, and it does not make any sense for a team in a rebuild to attach draft capital to unload a guy. Now, I agree with the thought process of it doesn't make sense for the Bulls to attach draft capital. And I don't think the Bulls are desperate enough to move Zach LaVine where they'd be willing to do that. I think if they were, they could have moved him this offseason. Now, the question is that these two teams specifically in the Lakers and the Kings, right? The Kings who could theoretically make a move for Zach LaVine and still stay under the second tax apron. Is it that concerning, especially with having most of your main parts of your roster at that point locked in? You got some young players on that roster as well that you could be willing to, not move off of, but you still have some guys there, right? So that's what you have to ask yourself with the Kings. The Kings were always kind of an interesting team for me for the rumors to be interested in Zach LaVine. I think it goes back to they got now DeMar on that team. You got a lot of scoring and shooting on that team. Does Kevin Huerter work out for you? But then again, you can theoretically, between Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter, you can do some things if you want to try to make Zach LaVine without moving off some of your key pieces, right? But does it then make financial sense? The Kings who have Sabonis locked up until 2027, De'Aaron Fox is right now locked in until 2025-26, but as we talked about before, he's looking to sign that, or if he qualifies for that Supermax deal, which could very well kind of put them out of the Zach LaVine sweepstakes as well. You got DeMar DeRozan locked in until the end of 2026-27 as well, right? He's locked in through that season. Everybody else is kind of a free agent. Kevin Huerter's up in 2026, the summer after the 2026 season. Keegan Murray's up. He's a restricted free agent in 2026-27, so there you go. Trey Lyles is unrestricted at that time. Of course, the rookie they just drafted, Devin Carter, is still there. But kind of everybody else could be up and off their contracts at that point. So does that make it a little bit more interesting to where you're getting in a player, you're gonna extend De'Aaron Fox, who even if he doesn't qualify for the Supermax, still can get 250-something million. And could you end up doing that if Zach LaVine looks like a guy that's ready to fit in? That's the question that you have to ask yourself. And I don't really know, right? Now, the Lakers are a team that I think the Lakers are always going to be in a position where if they think the move is going to make them a contender, I think they'll be willing to do it. They may look the second tax apron in the face and say, ha-ha. But it really depends on what also they have to give up in those deals. They have deals that they can move with the D'Angelo Russell, right? And a Rui Hachimura. Those guys basically get you Zach LaVine right there. And so you got to ask that question as well, right? So the Lakers have some cap flexibility in it. I don't think it's as difficult to move a $50 million contract as what Tim Bontemps said, but I do think you have to be calculated in how you move it. And that's where it gets to, like, are the Lakers, that would be them basically saying, all right, we think that with LeBron, AD, whether they keep Austin Reeves or not, but LeBron, AD, and Zach LaVine, that we have enough to build around that we can be a championship contender. And will they say that? Is that really what they'll think? And then even so, saying that, whenever LeBron does move on, is Anthony Davis and Zach, with whatever pieces they still have at that point in time, is that enough to where they can piece something together as well? So, I agree. I understand where it was rooted in with those comments. I just don't know necessarily. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, I would not be surprised if Zach LaVine is not moved this offseason or during this season. And maybe you do have to wait till next offseason. Maybe teams want to see a full year of Zach LaVine being this. And then again, you get a year off that contract as well. So we'll see. We'll see. But next up, from a player that is in a contract to players that could be looking to sign their extensions, is that the Golden State Warriors have two guys, in Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, that were both lottery picks in the 2021 draft that are up for rookie scale contract extensions. Now, they have the deadline until the 21st, which is 3 more days, to decide if they're going to extend them prior to the 2024-25 season starting, right? Now, the thing that would do is that would basically make them untradeable for the rest of this year. And if the Warriors do plan on making a move to try to add in a veteran or a piece, maybe that's something that they don't want to look at. Now, we did hear, this one comes from Anthony Slater of The Athletic, that right now the framework of a Moses Moody extension would basically be around a mid-level exception deal, which is $12.8 million. Now, I think that is a pretty decent contract for what Moody has shown. 22 years old, still a lot of upside there. Maybe it's a shorter contract. Maybe they do something on 2 years with a +1, or maybe 3 years outright so they can get back in free agency at the age of 25, 26. And so that's the question that you have to ask there. Now, if I had to bet with where the Warriors are right now, I think they're still trying to decide on just how good this team can be. I think Kuminga, if I had to pick between the two, would probably get an extension over Moses Moody, where Moses may have to wait till the end of the season. But there could be a possibility where the Warriors just go ahead and push all their chips in. They got 3 days to decide and sign both these guys. I don't know which route I was going to go personally if I had to give you a 100% answer, but I do think that there's a chance to see one of those guys extended. And maybe it ends up being neither one of them are extended. And at that point, we're just going through this season to see what they can bring. And the Warriors maintain flexibility to move off them if they decide to do so. So let me know what you guys think on that down below. Do the Warriors extend one of Moses Moody or Jonathan Kuminga, or do they both have to end up waiting until after the season to sign their deals? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that said, last topic for today. I know there's still preseason isn't officially over for all teams, but it basically all ends today. I want to go over winners and losers from the preseason period so far. We'll start off with some of the losers, right? And one of the biggest losers that I have to put here is mainly because they were a winner of the offseason, but now with how things have gone, you got to look at Isaiah Hartenstein and the OKC Thunder. Losing Isaiah Hartenstein for a displaced fracture on his hand, for a team that basically that acquisition was perfect. Moving Chet to the 4, potentially taking advantage of the defense of Hartenstein and Chet, and even adding Alex Caruso. And so while this Thunder team is still an extremely talented team, and this is still a team that's going to win a lot of games, make no mistake about it, losing Isaiah Hartenstein at the beginning of the season, it sucks. And he's going to be out 5 to 6 weeks before he's even reevaluated. So that may mean that he may not even be cleared to go when that happens. It just really sucks to start this off like this. The Thunder were a team that I have as a favorite to make it out the West this year. I just think what they have and what they could be defensively is going to be really special. And they've added pieces that helped the exact areas that they needed to and didn't really have to give up any major pieces. Yeah, they gave up Josh Giddey, who's a very young player that still has a promising career. But again, with him being phased out, they were able to get a player in Alex Caruso, who, while a free agent at the end of this year, still brings a lot of what they need, right? And helps strengthen a lot of their strengths already. So losing Isaiah Hartenstein, though, definitely sucks. And it sucks that we probably won't see Isaiah Hartenstein until December. And we'll see what that brings. Next up, as far as the loser in the category, we just talked about him. It's Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers. It just is what it is. Him not playing in preseason, thinking that he was going to be healthy when it comes down to it. Kawhi Leonard just continues to be a player that he's never going to live up to expectations. So got to have that as a loss for him and the Clippers. And it really sucks because, the Clippers have a potential. And it is, you'll find that most of the people and teams that I have as losers just come down to injuries. That's the only way you can really be a loser in preseason to me. And that goes with the next team as well, the Philadelphia 76ers. With Joel Embiid right now, him being shut down, him expecting not to play back-to-backs, the Paul George injury as well, everything that's just happened now with this team that I commend what the Sixers did in adding and reshaping this roster this offseason. But I think you really got to look at him and say, the health concerns already being there in a major way to 2 of your bigger pieces. Because, like I said, the question wasn't anymore, could the 76ers still win games when Joel Embiid wasn't there? Between Maxey, George, bringing in Andre Drummond as a center that can play with Embiid, or especially when Embiid's out. But then when you look at Paul George already having a major injury concern as well, man, the fact that they couldn't even make it out preseason with these guys being fully healthy, it really does suck, man. And so to that, I got to put these guys on the loser list for the respective injuries. That's Isaiah Hartenstein with the Thunder, Joel Embiid and Paul George with the 76ers, Kawhi Leonard with the Los Angeles Clippers. But then that gets us to the winners of preseason so far, and a surprising one, Lonzo Ball. I know double Bulls topics, from the Bulls guy on an NBA show, but Lonzo Ball and just him getting back all on the court and how good he looked. It's not about the output. It's about the fact that he showed no fear, diving after that loose ball, getting steals, getting blocks, showing just a little bit of everything that he do, and the IQ and the shooting are still there. Over 1,006 days of being out of basketball and to come back and look like that automatically makes you a winner of preseason, because I didn't expect Lonzo to look anywhere close to that good right away. So you got to give him credit for that. Another winner and an unexpected one, Tyler Kolek with the New York Knicks. And the reason why is simple, right? And we'll get into his production here in a second. But the Knicks need another on-ball creator, and that could create for others, right? And Tyler Kolek was the guy that you project as being a point guy. Like, the fact that they got him was solid enough. When you look at his per 36 averages so far through the preseason, 21.6 points, 7.2 rebounds, 9.8 assists on just 2 turnovers, and 3 3-pointers made. Tyler Kolek has the chance to really help out this New York Knicks team a lot, and especially with looking like adding a player like Pat, to have some play like that from Tyler Kolek at that point guard position and being able to keep that up and keep pressure on defenses when Jalen Brunson needs to sit down, I think Tyler Kolek could really, really surprise some people when it comes down to it. Because I tell you what, Tyler Kolek on this New York Knicks team specifically for what they need could drastically help the New York Knicks a lot. And then the last winner that we have here is Dalton Knecht. And this is a guy who really, hey, listen, it's been a solid preseason for him. And I think that he earned and locked in a spot on that rotation for the Los Angeles Lakers. Like, you just look at what he's done. 20-point games in a row, right? Yeah, it just 35 on Thursday against the Phoenix Suns, 20 straight coming in overtime. Like, what Dalton Knecht has shown, especially for a team that needs some shooting, needs some additional scoring at times as well. And, you know, we know that, listen, J.J. Redick is going to enjoy playing his shooters. And so this is a team that needs shooting. It needs spacing, as much spacing as they had at times, with LeBron James having his best three-point shooting season last year, even with his creation and just what LeBron is still able to do at this age. Adding a shooter like Knecht and a player that can pick up some scoring load for you, especially when you need to. Now, he's a rookie. Temper the expectations some, of course, right? But if he's able to do and look even 50 to 60% of how good he looked in some of these preseason games, that's another weapon for this Los Angeles Lakers team that I just think could really pay off big time for them during the regular season, again, for what they need. When you look at his averages, he got better every game of the preseason. 16 points in that first game, going 7 of 13, 2 of 7 from three-point range, 1 of 7 in the game against Phoenix, 3 of 9 from the field, only 7 points. But then in the third game, 34 minutes, 5 of 16 from the field, 13 points, 2 of 10 from the three-point line. But then his three-point shot, he's filling it out. Last 2 games of the season, he was a combined 13 of 26 from the three-point line. That's 50%. You got to give him credit. 19 points, 35 points. Dalton Knecht is a player that I think as he fills in and kind of adjusts to the NBA game, look out for him. He can help that Lakers team a lot, and I got him as one of my winners as well. But let me know what you guys think on everything down below. Make sure you guys are following the show at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago, everything basketball related. Talked a lot of Chicago Bulls today, everything basketball related. And I'll see you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.